Good evening. It is Monday, April 11th, 2016, and I call to order the first meeting of the month of April for the Speedway Town Council. I'm President of the Council, David Lindsay. I'd like to welcome other members of the Council present with us this evening. To my far right, Councilor Eileen Fisher.
Good evening.
To my immediate right, Vice President of the Council, Jeff Matthews.
Good evening.
To my immediate left, Councilor Gary Rakes.
Good evening.
To his left, Councilor Jason Delisle.
Good evening.
Our Town Manager, Ian Nicolini.
Happy Monday.
And our Clerk Treasurer, Monty Combs.
Happy Monday, I agree.
Wow.
Starting off great tonight. Our agenda has been posted, which we will follow this evening. The first item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would stand, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2 on our agenda is approval of the March 30th Town Council meeting minutes. Those have been distributed. Any corrections or changes? Hearing none, those will be accepted as presented. Item 3 should not be there. There was not an executive session, so we will ignore that. Item 4 is approval of the memorandum for the April 8th, 2016 joint executive session. Again, those have been distributed. Any corrections? Hearing none, those will be accepted as presented. Item 5 on our agenda is approval of an agreement with Christopher B. Burke Engineering. Ian.
Mr. President, the professional services proposal for your consideration this evening contemplates the construction inspection services and the processing of a letter of map revision related to the dry run ditch project. As you recall, the improvements will be permitted based on the design that they're designed to be able to revise the FEMA flood maps for the area. However, in order to do so, we have to ensure that construction was built to the design standard, and that subsequently the information and documents that are forwarded to FEMA for their review for the letter of map revision process are undertaken. Mr. President, this proposal accomplishes both of those steps. However, I'd be remiss if I didn't make mention of the fact that one of the reasons why the fee for construction inspection is so low is due to the incredible amount of effort, time, talent that your street department and wastewater department officials put into this process. So it's able for us to be able to inspect the process without billing at an engineer's rate. So the proposal this evening, Mr. President, we'd ask for your approval and consideration, amount not to exceed $90,700, and direct the execution of same. Also, this will probably be the last time I get a chance to mention it. April 19th is when the new FEMA floodway maps take effect. So if you live in an area roughly west of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, south of 22nd Street, north of Crawfordsville Road, I would strongly urge you to contact your insurance company. You can buy rates at a far lower rate before you're required to buy insurance rates. So I would ask that homeowners in that generally affected area make sure that they contact their homeowners insurance. Mr. President, with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the proposal for professional services. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement with Christopher B. Burke Engineering as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the agreement with Christopher B. Burke Engineering. Any questions from the council?
Just one. This is the company that is doing
The design engineering services.
and they're also doing work for Indianapolis North and kind of southeast of, or they have had.
They have modeled the entire watershed, correct, prior to this project.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll then call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the agreement with Burke Engineering, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Item 6 on our agenda is approval of a planning proposal with HPG Network. Ian.
Mr. President, as is customary in any business or governmental organization, there's always a situation or time when it's advisable to review and contemplate your goals and strategy as an organization, to develop a path forward, to work on a vision for what your organization is and intends to become, to assess internal strengths and external threats to identify those opportunities. And so, Mr. President, a major initiative for 2016 is really for us as an organization to undertake the process of developing a strategic plan, to identify those high-level goals, the sort of impactful changes and directives that you can institute in a community, and then to work collaboratively with town officials, with staff, to develop action plans to make those goals a reality. Mr. President, the proposal before you is from a group called the High Performance Government Network. I've had a chance to develop a strategic plan with them before. Many of these are former staffers from former Fort Wayne Mayor Paul Helmke, who's really recognized as sort of instituting a lot of business best management practices to governmental organizations. And Mr. President, we'd ask that you accept this proposal and authorize its execution in an amount not to exceed $4,250 for the scope identified therein.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the planning proposal with HPG Network as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the proposal from HPG Network. Any questions from the council? Before I get this on the last one, any comments from the audience? Hearing none, we'll then call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the proposal, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Item 7 on our agenda is Resolution 2016-7. Ian?
Mr. President, Resolution number 2016-7 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Speedway, Indiana, authorizing the acceptance of a public right-of-way. Mr. President, contained in your packet are 7 different right-of-way dedication instruments executed by Vince Noblet, the President of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission. These public rights-of-way include a number of road improvements or previous right-of-way acquisitions that were used to develop roadway improvements later on, roads like Gilman and Allison Way, roads that didn't exist prior to their acquisition as a parcel of land and subsequent development. Mr. President, the dedication of a public right-of-way is an important and necessary step in order to ensure that roads are accessible, can be maintained, and preserved for perpetuity for the public's enjoyment. Those rights-of-way also, once they are properly dedicated and recorded and lodged with the State of Indiana Department of Transportation, are then used in calculating the town's gas tax collection. So this should actually increase yield a marginal increase in our gas tax collections for the year. Mr. President, we have gone to as extensive a length as possible to identify these rights-of-way, to properly establish legal metes and bounds for same, and those exhibits will be recorded upon your approval of the resolution this evening.
Mr. President, I move that we approve Resolution 2016-7 as presented to us.
A second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2016-7. Any further questions from the council? Questions from the audience? Hearing none, we'll then call for the vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2016-7, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Item number 8, Resolution 2016-8, is a resolution approving the temporary closing of Georgetown Road. Ian?
Mr. President, resolution number 2016-8 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Speedway, Indiana, approving the temporary closing of Georgetown Road. Mr. President, with anticipating record crowds at the 100th running, your staff and the officials with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway have been meeting for the balance of probably 8 months to identify strategies and a plan that will allow for the enjoyment of considerably more patrons, but also to be able to maneuver within the facility and get around the newly installed elevators that were a requirement of the Department of Justice and a requirement of the Project 100 improvements. So as such, part of making a site more accessible often means that it becomes a little bit more difficult to traverse. And then if you include considerably larger crowds than what have historically been, it's incumbent upon us to develop and review options to accommodate that traffic. So what's contained herein is essentially a resolution that acknowledges that from May 9th until until August 1st, that the town council has the ability to close the eastern 2 lanes of Georgetown, thereby leaving a north and a southbound lane on Georgetown. Now, that will still require the maintenance of traffic control measures. It'll require temporary striping, and the actual dates during which this is employed is still not entirely settled. There are a number of just the sort of maintenance standards, the right-of-way condition, all of those need to be included. And rather than do that in a resolution, this resolution authorizes the development and execution of a memorandum of understanding between the town of Speedway and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to determine the final terms and conditions associated with this temporary closure. We do have renderings provided by Browning Day that show what this layout looks like, but essentially it covers the gates. Which is the northernmost gate? 7? Starts at 7, works its way south, and allows for what are essentially fence bump outs into the right-of-way for Georgetown Road to get around the newly installed elevators and to be able to convey traffic. The other benefit of those is where those bump outs take place, they can be used as additional gates to access the facility for ticketed entrance. And then at blow off, it provides, or I'm sorry, at the end of the race, it provides for additional egress for people to leave the facility. We've had a chance to review this at the staff level with Indianapolis Motor Speedway representatives, with their engineers and architects. In fact, you have representatives here, both from Browning and from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, if you guys have any questions about the specifics. This has also been the subject of briefings at the Public Safety Committee involving our state and federal and local partners as well. So what we've brought to you essentially is a resolution that will allow for that closure and encourage the safe and efficient travel of people on the 100th running, but give us a little bit of flexibility to determine how exactly all of that works out prior to the closure commencing. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have about it.
Just so that we're clear, because the wording of the title of our resolution is temporary closing of Georgetown Road. Can you clearly say that it is not closing Georgetown Road in its entirety?
Correct, yeah. It's, well, there's still closures that take place on race day.
Right.
We announced those ahead of time.
Right.
No, this would essentially be the closure of the eastern 2 lanes that would allow for those fences to be bumped out. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, do we have a motion?
No, we do not.
Yeah, so I'll move that we approve Resolution 2016-8.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2016-8. Any other questions from the council?
Just a comment, I would concur with the questions and the comments of the council and our town manager. Just in addition to that, we've had a tremendous amount of construction, terrific construction going on to improve the facilities of the Motor Speedway, and those 2 lanes have been closed for most of that time, and there's been minimal number, not none, but minimal number of issues, and certainly there'll be a bigger crowd, but it will be a completely different look of closure at that time, so I'm in full support.
Any other comments? I would like to add one comment. The group from Browning and Dave Shaw and his staff, and also our department heads, Chief Campbell, Chief Fishburne, Wendell's been there. If I'm forgetting somebody, excuse me, but this is not something that was just thought up in a day. We've been working on this for several months. It's been changed and revamped. Our department heads brought some very good information to the table. The IMS and Browning have worked with us, and I do appreciate that. This is something that's been going on for months, and I have also sat in on those meetings. So this is something that's been in the works for months, and I think we've come up with a good plan, and I appreciate, especially from the town, the chiefs and Wendell and the rest of the town employees and their work in this, and the IMS for reaching out to us to come to something I think is going to make things work and flow very well, which we will find out at the end of May. So, all right. Any other questions or comments from the council? Comments from the audience? Then call for the vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2016-8, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Next is a report from our department supervisors, and we will switch things up. Chief, should have told you sooner. Leanne, you're first. Ladies first tonight.
Been waiting for that.
Way to keep us on our toes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy National Cheese Fondue Day.
It's
Bet
always
you didn't know
something.
that. National Cheese Fondue Day. Go enjoy some fondue after the meeting. So in the short term, this coming Wednesday, we have our tree planting that is part of our partnership with Keep Indianapolis Beautiful. They have a group from Praxair coming out here to Leonard Park, rain or shine, which according to my app today, it looks like a sunshine, so hopefully it'll be good for them. But they'll be planting in the rain if it's not. And they'll be out there starting at 8 a.m. So they're planting 25 trees. We went through, Mike and I did a walkthrough with Molly Wilson from Keep Indianapolis Beautiful and mapped out where we want the trees to go because we're getting a bunch of different varieties. We're getting some tulips and quaking aspens that we're putting along the southern edge of the park, along the trail, so that in the fall there'll be a corridor of like really pretty gold leaves, and it'll be really nice. So this is a really cool project that they've partnered us with somebody here locally in Speedway also. So if you see folks out working on Wednesday, just toot your horn and thank them for their time. Let's see what else. This Saturday is the junior baseball and softball opening day here at Leonard Park. They have their parade at 9:30?
10.
10, okay. Starts at 10, and then opening day, so we'll have kids here all day with various t-ball games, baseball games, softball games, and then activities that are open to anybody who would like to come. Let's see what else. We got our Okra grant application submitted on March 31st, so now we're just kind of waiting to hear back from the state to see if we get that planning grant. Thank you for doing kind of a last-minute vote on a new resolution for that, because luckily we were able to get we were eligible for the larger match from the state. So rather than $15,000, we're looking at getting $20,000 for that master plan process, which is good for us. And then finally, we've got, I was hoping to get copies in your packets this week, but they're not back from the printers yet. This year for our summer camp programs, I did a little 8-page brochure that's going to get sent home with all the kids from Speedway schools and St. Chris, and then I'm going to take them to some of the local churches that have all of our summer camp programs. Our athletic camps. We moved the art camp up to June, so now all camp programs are going to be happening in the month of June, so that folks can take vacation in July before school starts. And then we've got a new camp this summer that is working with the robotics instructor at the high school. It's a week-long robotics camp offered for grades 4 through 6, rising grades 4 through 6. And that'll take place that third week in June. So we're really excited to see what kind of feedback we get from people for that. And then I've made some updates to the summer swim lessons and swim team program. I met with a certified aquatics and person and got some feedback on the way our program was currently structured and made some updates to it to bring it more in line with some industry standard like child to instructor ratios. So this will be interesting to see how that works out with some of the times are changed, some of the skill levels are changed a little bit. So this will be our experimental year to see how that works out. We're doing like a chart, and I don't know, it's gonna be fun. So unless you guys have any questions, I will conclude my report.
When does the summer concert series start?
June 2nd. June 2nd, that first Thursday. Yes. Any other questions? We couldn't get Yacht
I had a
Rock
quick
review.
question.
I know.
So the trees.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I'm happy
Yeah.
to hear it. Is it only in Leonard? Are we doing anything in Meadowood?
No, this particular time, we're only doing Leonard. Meadowood has plenty of trees at this
Okay.
point. And we're, Keep Indianapolis Beautiful didn't want to plant anything over there while we're still mitigating the emerald ash borer
Oh, okay.
stuff. So we looked at this site and found a couple of spots like around the little amphitheater type area. We're putting in Kentucky coffee and a variety of maple that will grow high enough that they'll have a nice shade canopy around there, but are hardy enough that when the 4-foot saplings go in the ground, hopefully they won't, like if kids play on them and stuff, they won't break. So we did, when we were being considered through the application process, we did a little evaluation of where Kiwi thought would be the best place to use their resources, and they picked Leonard Park. So, but yeah.
How about feedback from basketball? I know I don't know if it was last meeting or the meeting before, but you had mentioned that you'd send out those surveys.
They're still kind of trickling in, and I've seen a couple people who were like, "Oh, I need to hand that to you." And I'm like, "No, you need to put it in the mail because it's anonymous." But the feedback that I've gotten so far from the kids' perspective has been refreshingly honest, because there was the little matrix of questions that the kids had a chance to say like yes, no, sometimes maybe too. One of the things was I exhibited good sportsmanship, and there were a couple of kids that checked no, and I was like, well, that's very self-aware for a 5th grader. Okay. And I wondered if mom and dad was like standing over their shoulder, like, no, come on. But it's been good. It's been good from the kids' perspective. It's been good. You know, we learned a lot. We had a lot of fun. The ones that got to play in that final game and have their name announced, like that was the thing. Every single one of the cards that came back that it was one of those kids, that's been the thing that they liked. I liked getting my name announced. So I'm like, okay, well, Mr. Lindsay doesn't know that we're going to continue that tradition going forward.
I know what I'm doing here.
So, and then from the parent side of things, you know, the season was a little bit longer than it's been in the past with the intention to try to play other leagues, and that was harder to get worked out than planned. So I'm starting earlier on that, and if I can't get other leagues involved, then we'll shorten the season a little bit so that it's not 12 weeks of just playing the same teams over and over. But I wanted to pad some dates in there so that if we did have other leagues to play, we'd have time, and it just kind of didn't end up working out. So I can see how, especially for the girls where there were only 3 teams and they're playing the same team over and over, it maybe got a little stale. So that's a good note. We'll take that. But on the whole, the feedback has been positive. So yeah.
Good.
Anything else? All right. Thanks for letting me go first.
Did you know what yesterday was?
Siblings Day.
Yeah.
You
So-
can't stop me, man. Don't ask me what tomorrow is yet.
You have
though.
siblings?
Huh?
Do you have siblings?
Yeah.
I
didn't
had some I
thank
wanted
them
to
for
share with
being-
other people, but
I didn't thank them for being my siblings because they should be thanking me for me. No, I do. I have siblings. My brother lives here in Speedway, and my nephew has his opening day of baseball on Saturday. He's been in T-ball for the past 2 years, and now he's officially in baseball, so he can play in the dirt on a baseball team instead of a T-ball team. Just kidding. So I'll be out there. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Leanne.
guys.
Next is our wastewater department and Norm Berry.
Good evening. To be fairly brief tonight, not really much different from the last month's report. So usually if I come in with news, it's usually bad news. So if I come with no news, it's good news. Right?
No news is good news. Yeah.
Yeah. No, everything's still running well. We don't have any major issues. Inch and a half of rain over the last 24 hours, no problems. Report on the stormwater. Wanted to bring to your attention, the stormwater regulations are evolving and evolving. EPA is supposed to put out a new permit rule by December of this year. So I'm currently working with Wessler Engineering to make sure that we're up to speed on, what this permit could entail. And also to make sure an IDEM audit is going to be coming in the near future. So we want to make sure that we're prepared and ready for that audit. So I'll keep you informed on how the EPA regulation is going. It could go right now we're on a general permit rule, but who knows what changes could come about from this new EPA rule. So I'll let you know. The last thing I wanted to let you know about, I'm in conversation right now in discussions with a company called Telemon out of Carmel on the feasibility of maybe doing some solar power down at the treatment plant. You may not be familiar with them, but this is the same company that actually did the big airport solar farm. So they've offered to do a free solar power analysis to see if we'd be a good candidate to maybe put some solar power in. So hopefully I'll have more information for you on that next month.
Yeah.
That's it.
Any questions? Thank you, Norm.
One comment, sorry.
Sorry.
Just, I spent some time with Norm last Friday, so I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day to show me around the plant. That was very informative. And I had you in my mind with all the rain coming through, so I was thinking about you.
Thank you. Well, you're quite welcome. We were glad to have you come down and to take a look around and take a tour. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Norm.
Thanks, Norm.
Next is our Waterworks Department, Steve Hurst.
Good evening, Council. We are very close to getting the surface water plant up and operating. Normally, we have it going by now, but we did a couple extra maintenance projects this year that took a little extra time. So hopefully, by the end of the week, we'll have it pumping out to the system. Groundwater plant's holding up well. No issues there. So probably once we get the surface water plant up and running and pumping to the system, then we will schedule the annual hydrant flushing probably the last week of April and the first week of May, which is normally about the time we do it anyway. And that consists of flushing the system out, checking the hydrants, seeing what hydrants need to be maintained. So that's what's on our agenda for the next rest of the month anyway. And that pretty much concludes my report for tonight, unless you have some questions for me.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next is our Fire Chief, Bob Fishburne.
Keep us guessing.
Yep.
Good evening. I've just got a few things. Kind of a big event coming up now, we can say next month. You guys have probably heard of it. Lot still going on with the Public Safety Committee that Chief Campbell heads up, and the fire and EMS side, a lot of planning going on there. I wanted to make you aware of the new alumni profile. Ken Hull did a great job of contacting the police and fire department. We have several guys that are alumni from the high school, and I know that that's up and running now. You can go on the school's website, click on the profiles, and it's about a 20-minute piece that is outstanding. Yeah.
You guys are stealing my thunder. After the council meeting tonight, our cable station contacted the superintendent, and they will air that after the meeting tonight.
There you go.
So
Great.
I happened to see that today. It's, as always,
It's very well done. So I got to participate last Friday in cooperation with Allison. We worked with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Melissa Sauer contacted me, and we had a young boy from St. Louis came up with his family. His wish was to see big trucks. They sent him up to Fort Wayne to the truck plant with GM. They brought him over, and of course, we've got a few big trucks. So we were able to go down. One of the lieutenants, who's also my PIO, went over with me. We, had him get up, took him, some stickers, things like that. But we also drove down around the roundabout, back down Main. His mom and dad obviously went with us. It was great, and we loved participating, and so glad that Melissa reached out to us, and we were able to help a kid's wish come true. I mean, little guy is just awesome. So we recently completed all of our work performance evaluations for the entire department. We do that in cooperation with Beech Grove, so we can kind of split the cost of renting the facility over at Wayne Township. And that's the work performance evaluation that is kind of mandated by NFPA. All of our guys went through, did a great job. Their blood pressures, everything checked out. We didn't send anybody to the hospital this year, which has happened before. So, and then I also wanted to let you know, Ian may have told you, but he may have saved it for me. Our ISO rating came back, and we remained a 3. And I want to thank Steve Hurst and the guys. That there's a lot of documentation and work that goes into it, especially from the water department and the fire side. Again, nobody in the state has a 1. There are literally six towns and departments in the state that have a 2, and there are only about 25 that get a 3. So it's anywhere from a 1 to a 10. So we were pretty happy with that. We even spoke with Steve after the department head meeting last week, and over the next year and a half or so, we're going to try to do a few things. Documentation is a big part of that. We think that we can ask them to come back early to try to get it to a 2 by doing some of that. So Chief Lynch did a yeoman amount of work with that also, but that's really all I have. So, anything? All right.
Thanks, Chief. Street Department, Wendell Walters. Keeping you guessing, guys.
Yeah, you are. Good evening, council. Some updates on your street department. The yard waste program has started running for the season. Same rules, it's been in effect for years. Please follow them. The spring cleanup, you'll see the crews out doing pothole patching, striping, painting curbs, trying to get everything ready for our event coming in May, plus everything that we need to do throughout the season. So a lot of activity. You'll see a lot of our trucks out and moving around and stuff, so give them a little patience. Just a reminder, we got projects starting back up. 136 in high school, Wreath and Rilo will be starting back out there on Wednesday to finish that project up. They have a time limit of May 1st to get that completed. We have 2 projects on Gilman going on, a lot of traffic going in and out, trucks moving around, so please be cautious when you're driving through these areas. The lining project is started. We started last Friday in town on Fisher. Went pretty well. We're now in Chapel Hill. We'll be moving back Monday or Tuesday back in town to start Fisher, Winton, 22nd Street, start getting that lined out. And then we'll move back to Chapel Hill and run that project, I think, until June. And then we'll move over to Farley Addition and work that. Then Norm, myself, and Ian and Monty will sit down and look at our budget money for our next go-around on the lining project. But what they've installed so far, I've got a sample at the shop if you'd like to stop by and see what it is. It's a total coating of the pipe, so it gives us that 50, 60 years more life out of our system, so a great investment. Thank you folks for participating with us, getting it done. And that kind of catches us up right now.
One question, Wendell, the project at Crawford Zone High School, is there going to be another lane restriction for that?
It should be like a day restriction. We've got the left turn lane going into the plaza that we have to get surface on, so it shouldn't be a long-term process, hopefully. And then we've got some sidewalks we have to put back in and some landscaping. So a lot of it should be behind curb. It may be 1 or 2 days on a restriction.
Okay.
And we'll let you know when that happens.
Hey, Wendell, on Georgetown Road, north of 25th, between 30th and 25th, is that Indianapolis?
We go up to a distance about where the family video store is, right there before you get to 30th Street. I think that's our limits right there, a few 100 feet difference from that area.
So is there a plan to do something on that? I mean, that far east lane is really bad on Georgetown Road there.
Before Gate 9, is that where you're talking?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's why we've got the patch crew, and when weather starts breaking, the plants just opened a week ago to get hot asphalt. We're looking at renting a miller head and start doing some heavier work. So we're trying to get everything caught up, planned out, and get it in works. And if you notice, there's a couple of places on 25th Street that we identified today that we're going to try and project out the same way. So.
And then what about Crawfordsville Road where those speed bumps were taken out?
That's City of Annapolis, and we keep pushing notes down to the supervisors that that needs to be looked at because we continuously to patch. Once those were ground out, it caused the asphalt to absorb water, get underneath, so it keeps breaking down. So hopefully they've got it on their list someplace to get it repaired for us.
Okay.
Same thing on 16th Street, where we did the cuts and stuff, trying to maintain the roadway. So. Okay, thank you.
Sir.
Thanks.
Next, our police chief, Jim Campbell.
Good evening. You know, I think you're aware that on March 31st, we had an incident at 18th and MacArthur that resulted in a police action shooting. You know, that is an active investigation, so there's not a lot that we can talk about or say. I do want to express appreciation to the neighbors in the area. They were very patient, and we appreciate the fact that, you know, that was about not just a 6-hour, but I think our folks left there about 2 in the morning. So, you know, we appreciate the neighborhood and, you know, how they helped us during those times. You know, it's already been brought up, the 100th anniversary. You know, we keep hearing that record crowd, and I think Dave Shaw could verify that for us, but, you know, we anticipate probably one of the largest crowds we've had in a number of years. You know, we continue to meet with law enforcement agencies and, you know, as Bob said, the fire and emergency medical. In fact, we have a meeting next week that probably will be our last time unless we need to get together in smaller groups. But that planning's gone very well, and famous last words, I think we're ready.
Nice jinx.
Yeah. This is National Telecommunicator Week, and, you know, this is an opportunity for us to recognize our dispatchers. You know, they have a tough job and frankly don't get the kind of recognition they deserve, and so we kind of do some special things, and, you know, it's just one of those where we take the time to say thank you and how much we appreciate what they do during National Telecommunicator Week. This Thursday at 10 o'clock, we're going to swear in 3 new reserve officers, which we need to have. And obviously, the public or anybody's welcome to attend that. This Saturday from 9 to 11 is the coffee crawl. I understand that the police department's at the Vroom, which is a hairdressing. I don't know if that's because Chuck and I don't remember asking for it. Somehow we managed to end up at the Vroom. It wasn't that funny, John. You're going to be there too, I think. Anyway, the last thing is on April 21st, we'll have a chiefs meeting. You know, periodically we get together with police chiefs from Carmel and Fishers to Greenwood, Cumberland, Beech Grove. You know, it's an opportunity for us to network. You know, I think it provides the kind of coordination and support that we need from the agencies throughout the county. And it's usually a meeting where, you know, we can address topics that, you know, we need to have that kind of input, whether it's asking IMPD, you know, when and where they're going to buy their cameras, you know, or the kind of support that we can get, you know, from the other agencies in a time of need. Similar again, you know, the Indiana State Police were very helpful at the incident with the police action shooting. We actually contacted IMPD first, and they were on their own SWAT call out. So, you know, the state police came and assisted us in that incident. And there may be some question. We turned that investigation over to them, and there's a reason for that. You know, the objectivity, the transparency that we felt that benefited the town and the police department. So that's what I have.
Chief, there was a couple weeks ago, one of our officers hit brief accident at the intersection of 25th and Lyndhurst there. And I've had a lot of people ask about, you know, how the officer's doing. And
It's Officer Weaver, I believe.
Oh, Brad? Yeah, Brett, we just had another one, so
Oh.
Mike Klepper he was a little farther north, but Brad's still off, but he kind of had a trailer run over his foot and injured his ankle. And he's still going to be off for a little while, but he assures me he's going to come back as soon as he can,
Okay.
which is a good sign.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Present with us tonight is Dave Shaw from IMS, and I'm going to yield a few minutes to Dave.
Thank you, council. Thanks for the opportunity. As I think most everybody in this room has spoken about, as well as Town Manager Ian, this is a historic event for us coming up here in 47 days. This is going to be 3 times the largest Super Bowl attendance pretty much on record. So an event of this size and this nature does not take place without a lot of folks behind me and a lot of you folks. So between, Assistant Chief Upchurch, Chief Campbell, Assistant Chief Mike Lynch, Chief Fishburne, Wendell, just everybody in the town of Speedway is so excited and on point with us as we gain momentum to this event. Chief Campbell touched on the attendance. These numbers are real. This is not a ploy to sell more tickets earlier in advance. We've seen up to 50% year-over-year increases in ticket sales up to this point. So all of our parking is sold out. All of our camping is sold out. Lot 1C is going to be sold out here very soon. So Carb Day is going to be pretty much the biggest Carb Day that I think the town of Speedway has seen in a very long time. So while we're very excited that it brings some challenges, I'm fully confident in our staff's ability to deliver a safe and successful weekend, as well as the town of Speedway. So if there's any questions about anything, I'm happy to answer them. But I just wanted to urge the folks watching at home, as well as folks that talk to their friends and family that are coming to the race, to show up early, throw out your traditions of tailgating in the morning and packing up your cooler at 9:30 to get in your seats for pre-race starting at 10 a.m. Our gates will be fully staffed. We have over 400 points to get into the racetrack. But there's going to be a lot of people that show up, and a lot of people who have not been to the race either ever or for a very long time. And that's a little bit concerning to us as well. Again, it's a great problem to have. But with people that are new to the area, new to the facility, might be expecting to leave their house at 8 a.m. and then just pull into a lot and park, that's just not going to happen on the morning of May 29th. So again, urge people to show up to the track almost as early as possible. What I've been telling my friends and family is to back your schedule up 2 hours on race morning. So historically, that group starts to pack up and head into the race about 9 to 9:30. 7:15 to 7:30 might not be a bad thing. From a track perspective, we have all kinds of really cool things that we've never done before in pre-race, stuff that's going to be announced here in the coming week to 2 weeks, which will give folks something to do, something to see as they come into the racetrack, hopefully earlier than normal. So you don't want to miss that, but ultimately, that green flag is going to drop at about 12:15. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get folks in early and safely.
Great.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You working on the weather too?
Yes, it's going to be 74, sunny and clear, Thursday till Monday.
High authority.
Yes.
Dave, thank you.
A little overcast. So, anything?
Thank you.
Great, thank you,
you.
folks. Thank you.
Item 10 on our agenda is approval of claims and utility adjustments from our clerk treasurer. Monty.
Thank you, Mr. President. On this really nice Monday we have, I've submitted to you and the council the March 25th through April the 8th claims, and would appreciate your approval.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the utility adjustments, the claims as presented by Clerk Treasurer.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented by our clerk treasurer on a wonderful Monday. Any comments from the council? Comments from the audience? Hearing none, we'll then call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Monty?
Also, sir, on this wonderful Monday, I try to use less paper for our utility adjustments, as you might see. And this is for the same period of March 25th through April the 8th. And again, would appreciate your approval.
I move that we approve the adjustments as presented. I especially like the 808.27 amount. That's a great number.
Keep it after us.
Second.
Motion and a second on a beautiful Monday to approve the utility adjustments. Any questions or comments from the council? Comments from the audience? Hearing none, we'll then call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Bonnie, anything else?
No, sir. That's all.
Thank you. Next is a report from our town manager. Ian?
Mr. President, on the economic development side of your organization, I'd really like to welcome Speedway Indoor Karting to Main Street. It's been really successful, very busy, excellent food, a lot of happy customers, brought a ton of activity to Main Street, and a big welcome is definitely in order. We're targeting a first week in May opening for Big Woods. They're going to be working on a couple of soft openings, friends and family nights, and then doing a grand opening during the week. Don't have a date specifically yet, but look for announcements coming about that soon. You've also probably seen construction's gotten underway at OMR and Juncos on Gilman Street. Both of those projects, major job generators, major investors in the community. They're working on the site work now, installing the utilities and cutting in the footers to support the structure. Out at I-465 in the Speedway Marketplace, we've got permit applications and land use applications in place for the first 2 users in that development. If you're familiar with GetGo Cafe and Marketplace, so GetGo is the convenience store component. They sell fuel. They've got a Dahlia Marketplace. They'll be going in where the former Dollar Inn was. That's a Giant Eagles product there. We also have an application from Burger King to construct a new facility, and we're awaiting on the permit application for a small commercial center, probably house about 3 different users, and they're targeting 2 quick service restaurants and 1 services user, or 2 quick service users, not necessarily restaurants. But they haven't signed those leases yet. It's not quite public, but the first 2 are. That leaves with the balance of the acreage. We're going to continue to work on identifying those end users and getting word out about those. But happy to announce that we've got 2 good additions and a 3rd structure on the way for that project. It's good to see some things getting going vertical. The request for proposals, the deadlines were extended on 1426 and 1346 Main Street to May 5th. So we'll now be accepting 3 requests for proposals for 2500 High School, which is a 22.3 acres on the north side of Crawfordsville Road at I-465. For the former Speedway Family Physicians building at 1426 and the former service station at 1346. So those will be open in a public meeting of the Redevelopment Commission on May 5th. I think I may have mentioned it previously, but you guys will probably be having some policy documents coming. We've conducted an analysis of Speedway Redevelopment Commission's existing bonds. We've identified at least 1 bond that's eligible to be refinanced to save a considerable amount of money off your debt service payments every year. And we're also looking at converting what are called debt service reserve funds into surety bonds, which it's essentially buying insurance on cash that you've already paid toward your bonds. It frees up some reserves, gives you some flexibility, lowers the payments over time. Also, May 4th, beginning at 7 a.m., is a group of real estate professionals in Indianapolis called Real Estate People, aptly enough, is having their spotlight on Speedway. That'll take place at the offices of Barnes & Thornburg in their main auditorium there on the 5th floor. It's at 11 South Meridian. If you're interested, tickets are available at realestatepeople.co, not .com, .co. And that's the Indianapolis version of the Real Estate People. On the panel, it'd be myself, Tim Jensen with Veritas Group, Bob Swintz from London Witty, who's doing some financial advising work for the Redevelopment Commission, Jim Gutting, Town Attorney, Redevelopment Commission Attorney. And I don't know if they've rounded out the rest of the panel yet, but it'll be a really, I think it's a really good opportunity for us to kind of put our best foot forward, talk about the future, have a panel of current and engaged folks that are working really hard on redevelopment and economic development efforts in Speedway. And I think that if you have the opportunity and the availability to come, check it out. It's at realestatepeople.co. Change hats. As your town manager, the Keep Indianapolis Beautiful and Indianapolis Arts Council grants, so that's kind of been rolled into one project. We've selected, the steering committee selected Arlen Bayless as the commissioned artist for that project. If you're familiar with Arlen Bayless, he's done some work at the library and airport, on the campus of Anderson University, a really well-known, well-respected artist, not just locally, but nationally, and really excited to have him and his vision. We've talked a lot about how to take this little pocket park just south of the trailhead where the P&E Trail hits the roundabout and convert that into a pedestrian level space, something that's going to convey people from the trail to Main Street, but also that's going to celebrate a kind of unique portion of our heritage, and that's our student exchanges, and find a way to sort of tie Speedway's international city status in with a commissioned piece of public art that's paid for with a grant. So look for that project to get started after the race. We're going to leave it all parkable until then. Get to Dave's concerns there. We're going to be reaching out to property owners along the B&O Trail beginning here in the coming weeks. We've gotten federal approval and state approval on the environmental document on the design for the B&O Trail. So the next phase for us is to reach out to property owners and begin to talk about the right-of-way process. So that'll be taking place this summer. That project, again, funded 80% with federal funds. It was a grant the town was fortunate to receive at the end of 2014. Also wanted to let you guys know the Speedway Community Development Corporation is going to be the recipient of a housing planning grant through the Indianapolis Neighborhood Housing Partnership, INHP. INHP funds core communities that are looking to develop strategies to fund housing programs and to make sure that there's value added to the housing stock. And what's good about this program is if we hit certain federal guidelines as part of the planning process, we're then eligible for CDBG and other federal funds that currently we don't. We're not eligible for because we don't have a federally approved plan in place. So kind of killing two birds with one stone. I'd also really like to recognize the efforts of the CDC and the Speedway Housing Advisory Committee. They've put together an outline for a low-interest homeowner assistance program where small repairs can be funded on a revolving basis. And it's a really well thought out program. We're putting the finishing touches on it before we roll it out. It's going to have to be a somewhat manageable rollout because we don't have a ton of resources to put into it right now. But I think as we sort of look at how economic development and commercial development adds value to our neighborhoods and how that investment then needs to make its way from Main Street onto the numbered streets, that this is really a great opportunity for us to do that. And so pleased to have been a recipient of that grant and look forward to working on the plan. Lastly, we've received 50% of our permits for the dry run project, so we're right on schedule, including a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers, which I was a little surprised was the first one we got. I'm going to be honest with you, a little surprised. But we got our federal permits in place, waiting on the floodplain permits, still looking at a June construction timeframe. We've had our pre-construction meeting, met with the team, identified some of the specifics of the project, and looking forward to that moving forward as well. That's all I have, Mr. President.
That's it?
That's it.
Well, I'm going to stick around and sweep up.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Next is report from our council members. We will begin with Councilor Gary Rakes.
Just to echo some of Ian's comments, certainly want to welcome Speedway Indoor Karting, and Big Woods will be around the corner, but I would encourage our residents and businesses and people working in the town to frequent those places, continue to frequent our existing businesses that have been around a long time, but for everyone to try and be a little bit courteous and understanding when a new business starts. They're starting fresh, and any of us have started anything new, you'll have some kinks, so expect that. Secondly, to that same similar point, just be kind when it comes to parking, and think about where you might park if you have capable feet and legs. Get a little exercise as you walk to some of these folks. The good problem that we have, it's still a challenge, is more businesses means more activity on Main, and just be aware of that. So just congratulations to the new businesses and all those involved with bringing them. I want to yield some time to Lisa Schmidt, who wants to talk about chickens.
Good evening, Council. I'm Lisa Schmitz. I live at 5035 West 15th. I've been a resident in Speedway for about 7 years, but before that, I was an employee at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so I've had the pleasure of sharing an office space with Chief Campbell, so this has been a fun night for me. So I've heard a lot this evening about some of the things that I was going to mention, like sustainability and community and environmentally friendly types of initiatives. So why am I here? There are a lot of families in this community that would like to propose living in and creating community and a sustainable future for the town of Speedway. So what does that include? Building partnerships, which include a diverse population of neighbors, building and creating sustainable living options, which include a greener planet, economic development, and social cohesion, creating civic mindedness and civic engagement, which I've heard a lot of here this evening, and then also supporting culture, arts, ethnicity, heritage, and a celebration of our town. So in order to create a sustainable community and encourage others to move into our community, what does that include? It respects the natural environment, infuses technology with purpose, optimizes resources, values diversity, improves the quality of life, and again, preserves our heritage. So what does that mean? Or what does that mean to me or to the folks that have encouraged me to get up and speak in front of you this evening? One step in helping create a sustainable community, and a first step would be open to organic, sustainable, and green living, which one idea as a start would be allowing chickens. So chickens can support urban chicken farming or urban farming. And not only do chickens provide a resource for eggs, they also provide educational opportunities for children. They provide an environmentally friendly way to dispose of table scraps and kitchen scraps. And I said this to my children earlier. They didn't get it. I'm hoping some of you will. Unlike Mikey, chickens do and can eat anything. Okay. Okay, so an example for you. In Belgium, one city is actually giving 3 laying hens to 2,000 homes in an effort to reduce landfill costs. City officials expect to recover a significant portion of the $600,000 a year the city spends on dealing with this type of household trash. A single chicken can biorecycle about 7 pounds of food residuals in 1 month. If just 2,000 households raise 3 hens, it could divert 252 tons of waste in landfills annually. So it's not just about the eggs. We would like to propose a change to the current code that will allow for residents to own chickens for the purpose of providing eggs, environmentally friendly composting, and disposal of kitchen and table waste, and educational opportunities for Speedway children. We hope that Speedway will consider future projects that support green living opportunities like a community garden, a regular farmer's market, and other things similar to that. We've put together a potential ordinance that we feel would best be suited for our community. We hope that you'll take this into consideration, take a look at it, maybe in a couple weeks come back to the next meeting and have more discussion and maybe some question and answer. The ordinance that I have provided, I have I think 5 or 6 copies, is actually from Bloomington, Indiana. We looked at a lot of different ordinances. That was the one that just we as residents felt like best mirrored what our community has to offer to its residents. And then I also have a printout for you on FAQs. Are roosters needed to make eggs? Are chickens noisy? Are they dirty? Do they cause a smell? All those kinds of things. And I have handouts for you, and I have an actual copy of the ordinance from the town of Bloomington. And that's all I have.
I have some questions.
Sure. I will
So-
try to answer.
so-
I hope I'm prepared to answer them.
Well, so first of all, admittedly, I don't know much about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to learn a little bit more. Is there anywhere that either myself or others, perhaps through the town, that have an interest in this can go to learn a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. And in this packet of information, I have a couple of websites referenced that you can go to, and there happens to be a store in Broad Ripple called The Agrarian, and they have all of the chicken supplies. They provide coops, they have food, they have books on urban chicken farming, and he actually has a Facebook page and a website dedicated to urban chicken farming in central Indiana.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. May I approach the council with copies?
Please.
Sure.
Thanks, Lisa.
We'll share.
Thank you.
So, Lisa, you weren't the first and not the last person to come to me and talk to me. I know other counselors have heard from other folks as well, so there's a fairly high number of folks that are interested in this, and I understand and respect that. A couple questions. Would they be penned? What are the basic ideas for how
Yes,
many?
so
and
the
some of
ordinance
those?
that you have in your packet from Bloomington actually has coop requirements, and I think it requires 12 square feet per hen. So that would be the rule of thumb. I think Marion County just changed their ordinance from 20-some chickens allowed to 12, so they backed it down. We would not propose 12. We would propose 6 as a max. I think most of us would be happy with 4. A chicken or hen lays 1 egg per day. So if you can imagine a family of 4, that's 1 egg per day.
Without a rooster.
Without a rooster, there's no rooster needed to provide eggs. Also, fresh eggs, there's a misconception about how long they last and whether or not they need to be refrigerated. If you take the egg from the coop and leave it out, it can last at least a month. It has a protective coating that the hen lays the egg with. You don't see it, it's just there. It's kind of like a embryonic sac. And it's dry, it's part of the shell. So if you don't wash the egg and if you don't refrigerate the egg, it can last up to a month. So all of those of us that decide to have chickens, if the ordinance passes, will be able to sell or provide for free eggs to all of our neighbors. And if you've ever had a fresh egg, I'm going to blame my husband for not having any to bring to you tonight. We have chickens on the south side on a farm, so they're actually really, really good, and they taste a lot better than store-bought. So,
Do you suggest only hens?
yes, no roosters.
And
And there are different forms of chickens. So I think any chicken would be allowable, definitely not roosters. And I think the Bloomington ordinance, I can't remember if it spells out what other kind of farm bird is allowed, but I think the ordinance in Speedway currently allows for ducks, actually. So that's not excluded.
Anything else? Sure does.
Ian, any thoughts or comments? You have some experience with this?
I believe that some of the legislative efforts that the town council would normally be able to undertake are preempted by virtue of our excluded city status and that we don't have zoning authority. However, the Rezone Indy project that took effect April 1st does give some considerations for urban farming applications. I need to better research and understand what those policies consist of. And I don't think that it would limit our ability to have standards that would still apply. But from a zoning perspective, we're preempted. Need to get a little bit more information in that regard. But I think that the points Lisa's making are pretty well taken and pretty well documented in a number of communities, especially in central Indiana. The challenge is always the balance. And that's what good policy does. It seeks to find a balance between people on different sides of an issue. And so that's really where the rubber hits the road as far as how this could be implemented or what information. exists. Or, or where,
chicken
why the,
crosses
why
the
the rubber crosses the road, as it were.
May I make
Yeah.
a comment to that as well? I think there are a number of us that would be very open to going into the schools and other organizations just to help educate people on how this works. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is a report from Counselor Eileen Fisher.
I have nothing to say. Thank you.
Counselor Jason Delisle.
Yeah, just wanted to mention, Gary had mentioned some of the new businesses around town. Just wanted to mention one additional, BRN Designs,
Yes.
who's located, I believe, just in the back of Charlie Brown's restaurant. She's a longtime Speedway resident, and just trying to fulfill her dream of having her own store there. My wife spent some time there over the weekend, and she had nothing but great things to say. So just wanted to mention that as well.
How much did it cost you?
We have a lot of new stuff in the house. Yeah.
I bought a chest. It's the first time, I think. That's what we get for going to the
Next
furniture
is
store.
our Vice President of our council, Jeff Matthews.
I'd like to kind of follow up with what Chief Campbell had said earlier about the coffee crawl. That's going to be this Saturday, the 16th, 9 to 10:30. I believe those council members that are available on Saturday will be at Lino's. So if you can stop by, say hello, we can chat about various topics, including chickens. Also, the porch party's coming up. It's a organization, well, it's the 500 Festival in conjunction with the Town Speedway. We're going to have some porch parties starting, I think, May 6th. 4 different parties, the last one on the 21st. Really cool community engagement program. So check out the 500 Festival website or various different social media outlets. So outside of that, that's all I have.
Great, and final is my report. I will not be at the coffee crawl, I will be at the parade. So if you want to talk to me, I'll be at the parade. I'll be the guy with the mic and talking, so it's hard to miss me playing the music. And then also, after this council meeting for the next 2 weeks, Superintendent Hall again has allowed our cable station to air the alumni on the police and fire that are graduates of Speedway. There's a few on the table here with us. Once a spark plug, always a spark plug, as they say. So it was very well produced. It's a good program to watch. I think it's like 20 minutes. So take your time, and I know you stayed tuned with us for a good hour tonight. So it's a good, very good program to watch. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:06.